Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, everybody listening into Side Quests. Side Quests is such a cool thing. I love the Fun and Games podcast, and I love that they do this. My name is Jacob, and I am from the Pre-Order Bonus podcast. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about Haiku the Robot. This is a game that I absolutely love. When it came out, it was definitely my indie game of the year. And so Haiku the Robot is a wonderful, beautiful Metroidvania, and it was the debut game from Mr. Morris Games. So yeah, this one came out, 2022. Yeah, this was my indie game of the year then. And it's a little funny because when I first played this game, and on our podcast, I had talked about it a little bit, I had said this is a perfect game for anybody who's in the Hollow Knight Silk Song waiting room. And lo and behold, 2 years later, Hollow Knight Silk Song is still not out. And so many of you are still in this waiting room with me. We're all sitting in here twiddling our thumbs. And I think Haiku the Robot is just a really fantastic Metroidvania. So just, I guess, a little bit more about myself in the podcast. So like I said, my name is Jacob. Cameron and I, we host the Pre-Order Bonus podcast where we talk about just games that we've been playing. And each episode typically is dedicated to a game. And we talk about it in categories. We like to be organized about how we do things, I guess. We talk about the narrative, the game design, and then the impact on the industry of those games that we cover. So that's what we do. I am a literature professor by trade. And it's fun because in my classes, when I teach like lower division classes, I try to include a unit on video games. And as much as I want to assign every single video game that I absolutely love, it is really difficult to do so. Just because video games are actually highly inaccessible. They're really expensive to get into, and they require specific hardware. And so a lot of the games I assign have to be massively available, which means they have to be, for the most part, on mobile, or they have to be really easily accessible, meaning free or really cheap on Steam, and be able to run on a Mac laptop. So for example, Haiku the Robot is a game that I absolutely love, but this is a game that's actually really difficult to assign for a class, believe it or not. But things that I do assign, and actually am a big proponent of Netflix's kind of game curation, because most of my students have access to Netflix, which means they have access to a bunch of games and a bunch of pretty quality games. And so like Kentucky Route Zero is a game that I get to assign. I'm also assigning Before Your Eyes, which is a beautiful short game. But we're not quite at the point where I can assign Haiku the Robot. So getting back on track, Haiku the Robot is a game that I fell in love with. Mainly, I found it on just my Twitter feed. This was a game that I found, and I fell in love with it because of the pixel art. You have this cute little robot in this, purplish kind of brown metal. It's very, Haiku is very round and cute and stuff. And what I was just really blown away by was just the colors, man. I mean, the pixel art was amazing, but in the different trailers, the different screenshots that Mr. Morris Games was posting on social media, just like these beautiful, like rust oranges and these super saturated, like deep maple leaf summer greens, and like just gorgeous, like Caribbean water blues for like all these different areas. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know these colors were on the color spectrum, and I'm seeing them in this really cool game. And then as development progressed and I saw a little bit more of the combat, I thought, oh man, this game just like looks really good. And so I had created a problem for myself, which is I started hyping up this game in my mind. And I didn't factor in things like, oh, this is a debut game, so it might have some bugs. Some of the design might be a little off, whatever. And so I, when it came out, when Mr. Morris Games launched Haiku the Robot, I bought it and I started playing it. And what I love about this game is that it lived up to the hype that I had created for myself. I had set like super unrealistic expectations of what Haiku the Robot could be. And I just think as a Metroidvania, it's just so wonderful. There's a lot of interesting environmental storytelling. Haiku is not the only robot that's kind of in this world, and you meet a lot of interesting robots, and you discover why some robots are going bad and why some aren't. And it's very cool, and this is not really spoiling to say. It's very cool because it's very post-apocalyptic in the sense that, like, okay, humans are gone and you're kind of living in the remains of what human civilization has built. And so robots have kind of taken over, and while they've been largely peaceful, it feels like another kind of extinction level apocalypse is starting to occur among the robots. And so it's like this is one game that made me think like, oh, when apocalypse happens, how can there be a post apocalypse, right? When you think of apocalypse, you think of just like this totalizing world ending event, but it's just not the case in some. This is why we have post apocalyptic literature, and this is why it's so common in something that we discuss like as a theme, like even dystopian like novels that kind of touch on this post apocalyptic thing. And so I thought it was interesting to see like, well, life went on after humans became extinct in Haiku the Robot's world, but now robots are starting to face something similar here. And so what can you as little cute round robot boy Haiku do about it? And so I found that really compelling. It was just beautiful to look at. Um, Played really well, super snappy, responsive controls, like all the stuff that you really need in a Metroidvania that is built around abilities that have to do with platforming, where combat is important, where evasion is really important as well too. And what I really liked about this game too is that it actually felt a little more open than other Metroidvania. So of course, you need specific abilities to be able to get to new areas, and backtracking is a huge part of this game. But I felt like for a big chunk of this game, you could just kind of freely explore one direction and not run into a lot of blocked roads. And you can find a lot of important upgrade items. You get these like different badges or gears that you can kind of equip to give Haiku like different abilities, and those are super meaningful. And so I really like just how the game progresses, and it gave you a bunch of tools to work with. There are just a lot of beautiful areas that you get to, like I said, the colors in this game, I seriously did not even know there are so many colors on the color spectrum that I could fall in love with. The different areas and biomes are really cool, and it just has like, it just showcases all of the best elements of a Metroidvania. And while maybe it's not doing anything new or innovative like with Metroidvanias, to me, like Haiku the Robot is a shining example of why Metroidvanias are popular and why they haven't gone away and why they won't go away. And so to me, this is just like uh, adding another stake in the ground to hold up like the Metroidvania genre, and it just does it so beautifully. Yeah, really great bosses. Um, plenty of bosses as well too. Good abilities, great NPCs. I felt like there's a lot of just kind of character and flavor of how these different robots have adapted to a post-human society, and kind of what they're doing in preparation for like this disease that's going around all these robots, and how they can survive and continue to survive and make their way into an uncertain future. So yeah, Haiku the Robot, one of my favorite Metroidvanias. I love it. It is available on Steam and Switch. And so I played this game on Steam, and at the time I had a bit of a potato of a computer and it ran beautifully. So this game felt really optimized. Super Rare Games actually put out a physical version of this game, and I bought it. I was like, I need this. This game is so freaking good. It is still in the packaging. Like it's something that I'm going to treasure forever. And I'm going to hold on to a Switch forever so I can play this game forever. But yeah, I highly recommend Haiku the Robot, and I highly recommend also just following Mr. Morse Games. This is a solo dev from Estonia, and this year in 2024, Mr. Morse Games released Rusty's Retirement, which is a desktop idle game, but Rusty is a character from Haiku the Robot, and so it's in the same world. But it's interesting because if you meet Rusty the NPC in Haiku the Robot, you get this really interesting sort of explanation, or you get this backstory of why Rusty is the way that he is, and why in Rusty's Retirement he kind of runs this like idle farming sim. But I love that game too because it's a desktop game that runs across like the bottom fourth or the side of your computer screen. So I think I have something like 50 hours in it this year because I've just had it up and it idles away while I'm working or whatever it is. But yeah, Haiku the Robot, I mean, we're still in the Hollow Knight Silksong waiting room. I highly recommend, highly recommend that you pick this one up. It is, I think it was $12 when I bought it originally. I've got Steam open right now and I'm going to take a quick look to confirm this. I think it was something like $12. Let's see. Full price for this game. Oh no, full price for this game is $20. I don't think that went up, but I don't know. However, this game is quite regularly on sale at this point because it is 2 years old. So I would say wishlist this one. And yeah, I think you'll have a really, really good time playing this one. So yeah, thanks for listening in. Thanks for letting me gush about Haiku the Robot. Folks, keep listening to these side quest episodes. They're so great. I love tuning in and just kind of listening to a bunch of things. And I just love hearing people talk about the games that they love. It's so refreshing to just hear people be so happy about the games that they have and that they're playing. And so, yeah, thank you. And folks, happy gaming.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.